Good morning everyone, you beautiful souls. Happy Friday. Tim in the woods, and it's cold in the UK, or in the south of the UK anyway. I've actually come down here and there is not a midge or a mosquito in sight. Happy. And I think this is probably where I'm going to, if I'm not walking, this is where I'll be sitting from now on, because I'm not getting eaten alive. So, right, what's on the Ascension menu today? It's the week leading up to the equinox, the September Equinox. I'll say that because it's equally balanced then for northern hemispheres and southern hemispheres, because I know some of you are kind of embarking upon your spring mission, whereas we are moving into autumn, the cooler and kind of darker months. And I want to have a look this morning at something which has been reoccurring for months and months, years and years, but it's becoming very prominent now, and I have talked about it before. If you followed me on the channel previously, you'll have heard me talking about spiritual outlook, personal sovereignty and authority. And we're at this present moment in time, for a couple of months, we've moved into an aspect of Pluto, which has gone retrograde, as all of the budding and well-established astrologers out there of you will know that this is a very significant period of time, because Pluto in Capricorn, which has formulated the dimensional learning space, or the kind of like the outer construction of where the majority of us have been born into, if not all, all of us basically. It's a generational planet. It moved into Aquarius for a little period of time, which is going to be its permanent station, but has currently moved backwards for a couple of months. Now, the idea of this is, on a cosmic, on an astrological level, is to tie up all of the loose ends, to bring to the forefront the issues that we personally have with, I'd say, authoritative structures, the system as it was. I always use past tense in these conversations because I am very careful not to hand power to those that are really clinging on to hold it. But this affects all of us. It affects us on a living, real, boots on the ground level, where this is the planet that we live in at this present moment in time. I have looked very carefully recently at the rising, or the collective light quotient that is existing within us as a unified field around this planet, and it's looking pretty interesting. In I think it was in the spring, I had the pleasure of doing a speakers day with Jackie White in Hampshire, and Diana Cooper was one of the speakers, and she was speaking about the golden future. And somebody asked, what is the percentage of people that are fully awakened, as you and I are, on this planet, holding their mighty I am presence, connected to their monads, and for all intents and purposes fully operational on the spiritual pathway. And we got the beautiful number back of 37%. Now, obviously, with the waves of awakening that go through our reality, through our existence, every time that occurs, the percentage, the number jumps by 1%, by 2%, by 4%. And I think the most significant push that we've witnessed recently was during the Lion's Gate, of course, because the Lion's Gate is literally a springboard to bring these frequencies in and establish them permanently. And the information, and this is really cool information, it's also been backed up by my good friend David Essery. David and I will be working on the solstice together to bring some very exciting information through. And the word from up top is that this push that we're going through at the moment, this wake up effort, this kind of clarion call to stand in our resolute light, it's all out. It's a full-blown mission to wake everybody up in time to hold this frequency, hold this energy. And so I was asking about how much, what by the time we get to the December solstice, what will be the quantity of people that have awoken and are holding this frequency, this light quotient on this world. And Melchizedek and Serapis Bey and the representatives of the Intergalactic Council said we are going for 50%. Okay, so 50% is that's the pivot. If you look at it from the point of a seesaw, okay, if one side of the seesaw is heavier than the other, then it will obviously naturally be going in that direction. By the time we hit the December solstice, the idea is to have a level playing field, to have all of us who have chosen the Ascension pathway to move through these incredibly challenging gateways to get where we are. The balance point is going to have been reached. Now, this balance point is all important. It's critical, because once you have a critical mass of awakened souls on this planet, then the only way to describe it will be the timeline becomes so absolute, it becomes the predominant energy. Now, I know as you're listening to this, you'll be thinking, well, what about all of these incredibly challenging things that we are experiencing in our lives, the overbearing kind of, almost like the avalanches of oppression from the third dimensional matrix. I spoke in my last update about kind of what happens when you corner an animal. I hope you like my mug this morning. And it's a rule of nature that if you corner a wild animal, or if you corner any animal and it's wounded, and it will defend itself in any way, shape or form. So this is what we are seeing and experiencing with the kind of like this disheveled mess that used to be the established energy or reality that we lived in, the 3D matrix. It's been backed into a corner, so every single resource that can possibly be poured into keeping the vibration low on this world is being deployed at this moment in time. It's all coming out. You can see it within the shifts of politics, the kind of the laws, and I use those words very loosely, the acts and the statutes and the things that are kind of regurgitated from the organisations, the corporations, and they are all incredibly aware now that you can only buy the stability that they want for a certain period of time. It's limited stock now. It's all coming apart because people have woken up. We've aligned with our higher hearts last year, which sets a template upon which we will only tolerate what is love. You know, we'll only tolerate an existence that is supported by love, where choices of love are made, where the ego is still in existence, and it always will be, but it's becoming a support unit rather than the over presiding voice that makes all of the decisions for the human beings on this planet. We've got an incredible amount of changes to make. You'll be looking at the world out there at the moment. How do we deal with it? How do we deal with the pollution? How do we deal with with the way that the planet has been treated, with commerce, with finances, with medicine, with education. All of this is an inside job that will change and it will shift according to the frequency of the people within it, which is why it is so critically important that when we have reached this 50%, this golden ratio, the kind of like the yin and the yang, that we are very, very, very focused on how we are handling our energy, what we are receiving, what we are tolerating, what we're not tolerating, the boundaries that we are setting for ourselves and that we are setting with our communications and our dealings with the outside world. So at the moment, in whatever country that you're living in, be it the United Kingdom, or you could be anywhere in Europe or the Americas or Australia, you will be noticing that there is almost a unified plan that is kind of coming out, or has been coming out of the woodworks now since 2020. And we've learnt so much from this. It's allowed us to pull the blinkers off our eyes and see clearly. We've gone through 4 years now of various stages of awakening, and even kind of the sadness and the loss and the falling away of people that can no longer continue on our trajectory. And then a little bit further down the line, it might be now, it might have been this year, it might be a little bit further on, the joy of the reconnection as they take their turn to step up. Because there's only so long, and it's getting so intense, the frequencies are so intense now, there's only so long that people can resist the bandwidth of energy that we live in. If you're looking for if you are thinking to yourself like, well, where is the evidence of this? You need to start looking for it. Make it a point of focus. Things aren't just given to us willy-nilly. We have to put the energy and the intention out there for it to come here. So think along the lines of, what is your point of focus? And again, we're coming back to the beating of the creation drum here. How we create our reality, what we allow into it, what we don't allow, without being ignorant of the occurrences of the world, because that's another very important thing that has been stated this year, that it's important for us as light workers to lose the fear. Okay, there's nothing to be afraid of. It might be challenging, it might be cage rattling, it might push our survival buttons, but that's our responsibility to deal with. The kind of the days of us hiding beneath the covers and waiting for the world to go away are well and truly over. It's our job to stand up, to shine our light, to speak our truth with love when it is required of us, when it is necessary. Yes, that requires bravery, and I believe that this particular placement, the Pluto in Capricorn placement that lasts until mid-November, is calling for us to be unified and brave in a loving way, okay? In the most loving way that we possibly can be. And I've done several videos over the years, and I mentioned it in my last one about something called loving non-compliance, okay? There are ways of dealing with this kind of oppressive inflow that's coming in at the moment, the way, you know, the way that it affects us on a day-to-day level, financially, speaking our truth with freedom, all of these things that appear to be disappearing. There is a narrative that is placed deliberately into our structures, into social media, into the news, into everything, that is pre-programming us to believe that we are losing our rights and our freedoms and we're not, because nobody can take that away from you. Nobody. There is no authority, either living or otherwise, that has the power to do that without our permission. Okay, so sovereignty is knowing who you are and knowing your power, and that is what is going to be the construction of the main lesson as we move into this last phase, this last hurrah. And that was the name of my last video, as Pluto sits in Capricorn, churning away at the remaining structures that exist around us that are formulating these challenges. So what are you choosing today? What energy or frequency are you choosing? Are you choosing to be in fear of something that is being presented to you? Or are you standing up and are you facing that with love? Because the two cannot exist in harmony with one another. Love and fear are bandwidths of energy that are so completely different that they exist on different timelines. The third dimension is rooted in fear, in ego, in control systems. The frequency of love exists at a fifth dimensional bandwidth and above. This is energetic, this is energy, and can't change how energy works. And the thing that's always ridden through all of these changes for me since the beginning of the whole process, pre-2012 even, I always asked how this structure would work. How are we going to be successful in our Ascension mission? And Archangel Metatron explained it very carefully. He said, look at the way that the third dimension, where you were born, where you existed, where you grew, where you awoke, and where you begun to flourish, look at the way it is made. It has allowances for polarity. Everything in there is a choice. You make your choices. Which pathway do I take? What words do I speak? What do I feel? What do I focus on? Do I take the easy route? Do I take the hard route? Do I work? Do I not work? All of these things are so available. It was a cornucopia of learning experiences, and that has changed now, and it is changing as you listen to this, as we speak, as we go through, as we move into the foundations of a dimension that is anchored in love. The opportunities for polarity fall away. So therefore, ask yourself the question, if you are fearful of the future, how can a future that you live in be constructed of anything but love? Okay, so you cannot create structures that are of a lower frequency vibration in a higher bandwidth of energy. You can get all of the invitations for it, which is everything that we are receiving at this moment in time is an invitation. It's an invitation by cooperation. So you are invited to participate in something. You are invited to participate in the trappings of the third dimension. It calls you in, it presses your buttons, it asks you to become part of it, to speak about it, to share the information, which then becomes like an arrow that hits its target and spreads. All of these different things are by invitation. Invitation only, VIP. You've got to be part of the energy to participate in the energy. The same applies to where we are going with a love-based, harmonious, unified planet. The two structures cannot exist alongside each other. Okay, you cannot have these lower frequency vibrations existing at the higher. So therefore, by default, the things that are triggering us, that we fear at these times, cannot exist at the higher frequency. So therefore, it is of utmost importance for us to be focusing on what we wish to create, to be the change that we wish to experience, to be, to see in the world. So over the coming months, especially as we move into into the September equinox. Be aware of how you are anchored on this planet. If something is affecting you, there's not maybe an opportunity to change that exterior thing at the moment, but you can change how you respond to it, therefore triggering a different form of alchemy and therefore a shared experience at the other end of it. If we are all doing this, if we are all on board with it, if we are all focused on love rather than fear, it changes. And you'll be amazed at how it changes as well. It might not be that you're picked up and then dumped into a different dimension. You will just simply begin to have an altered experience of what is constituted as a reality within your world. So that is, my loves, my Friday update. Be aware of where we are. Be aware of the amazing things that we've got coming up for us. And if it feels intense and oppressive and challenging and constricting at the moment, that is because it is meant to be that way. We need to be at a point where so many more of us have just taken that decision to step into our power. And that does mean on a level where we have to set that boundary in the sand and deny the authority of anything that wishes to be a part of our lives in a frequency which is not love. And on that note, I'm going to go and warm up a little bit, and I have got a lovely workshop coming up on the 22nd of September. It's a live in-person event near Wimborne in Dorset with my good friend Karen Main and some lovely souls that are coming in to speak as well, and really like to see you there if you fancy coming along. And any of the other events that I've got coming up will be listed underneath this video. I've got 2 live events coming up this year, and then before you know it, it'll be the end of the year. Sending you all so much love from my heart to yours. Bye for now.